Welcome back to Two Sports Overtime. I'm Kayler Smith. That's Joey DeBaradino. And we have an array of subjects to cover today. We're going to talk about some Bengals fallout after the season, some coaching carousel fallout as well. That's been a hot topic here in the last week or so since the regular season ended in the NFL. CFP National Championship matchup is set, and we have a Miami Valley connection on the sidelines. And, of course, we have some real red-hot basketball teams right now.
We do.
Now, we're going to go over those more in depth later on in the show, but we do want to start right there briefly with some breaking news that we got on Monday out of the University of Dayton. The athletics department let us know that sophomore transfer guard Adam Njie is no longer a member of the team. He is not enrolled at the university anymore. He did not come back from winter break for the spring semester. This comes after he was benched just before the season started due to the NCAA letting the university know that he could have some eligibility issues. So out of an abundance of caution, the team just decided not to play him, which I think obviously now the way it's turned out was smart in retrospect because you never know if he plays and he has eligibility issues. You don't want those wins stripped away from you or whatever the consequence would have been. So that's the bulk of what we know right now. We did get a statement from athletic director Neil Sullivan saying Adam Njie Jr. is no longer enrolled at the University of Dayton and as such is no longer a member of the men's basketball program. Athletics will have no further comment at this time.
Pretty wild. Not at all what we probably would have expected, at least of this recording coming in on Monday, as this airs on Wednesday. But pretty wild start to the week. We'd obviously been following this kind of at the start of the season. It seemed like it was a kind of a hot topic. Once we find out that one of these transfer guards is having some eligibility concerns, and there was that Sports Illustrated report by Pat Forty saying that it had, allegedly could be related to some of the gambling stuff that was going on throughout college basketball as the NCAA continues to investigate all that.
Now,
we do not
again,
know.
Important distinction that this, they believe, was dating back to his freshman season at Iona. So unrelated prior to coming to Dayton. So that is important to note that by all accounts, it appears that Dayton did things by the book, and none of this was related to Dayton in any way, and we don't expect them to get any type of repercussions from this.
Right, which was smart on their end. It sounded like they did the right steps right off the bat by, and not sure if this was, the NCAA telling them or whether this was just them kind of doing it on their own of sidelining him. But either way,
the initial report said that the NCAA let them know that there were possible eligibility concerns. And then I believe it was Dayton that made the decision to sit him out,
which was probably, definitely the right call. And
given how things have turned out.
Right. And we don't have, obviously, that article by Pat Forty is a report. That is not our reporting. As far as we know, Njie is not connected to gambling in any way at this time.
It's all alleged.
So we're going to continue to follow it. Obviously, he's no longer enrolled at the university, i.e. he's no longer a member of the Dayton men's basketball team. So pretty shocking news, for the Flyers. Flyer fans, I think we're really excited to get a chance to see him play. And we don't really at all outside of the exhibition game against Xavier. So, pretty bummer news there. Penn State. Thank you. I'm sorry. Thinking
last year.
Third year of the exhibition. Wow, already. It's moving quick. But wish him well, and hopefully, things can iron out for him and his basketball future. But we will not be seeing Adam Njie in a Flyers uniform any longer.
So let's go ahead and switch. We'll get back to the Flyers a little later on, but let's go ahead and switch gears to the Bengals fallout. They end the season. We talked about this last week. They end the season 6-11 after what was another disappointing season. 3 straight years missing the playoffs, missing Joe Burrow for, did it end up being 8 weeks of the season, which obviously was a big loss. A lot of questions surrounding the posterity, I guess, of the defensive unit. Again, back-to-back years where the defense has been in question. So for the first time, we saw something new. We saw Duke Tobin address the media for what, and I'm new here, obviously, but what I understand is one of the first times.
Very new. Unprecedented was a word that I saw throw out, and that was what I used when it happened on, when it was happening, the press conference on Friday. He typically only talks around the draft at those, GM availability portions, the combine, kind of anything like that, and then obviously just to start the season in the annual press conference that we get to hear from Taylor, all the OC, all the coordinators, and of course Mike Brown. So this was new. So it makes you
postseason kind of answering for how the season
went. It is typically
went.
just Zach Taylor, and I don't know if Burrow had been a part of that before outside of the post game, and I'm trying to remember back, and I can't, but definitely Zach Taylor only. So definitely something new, and he spoke for
63 minutes.
It was a long press conference.
It was a long press conference.
Rightfully so. Fans want answers. The media wants answers, obviously. They're trying to get to the bottom of what the root causes of 3 straight seasons, missed playoffs, the first losing season at 6-11 since 2020. And it seems like some recent misses on draft picks. And Duke Tobin answered essentially every question in full. However, it just seems that the Bengals front office, while they are aware there is work to do, and they obviously are, of course, not happy with the way things have gone, you get the sense that there isn't going to be any major structural changes to their approach.
I don't even know if it's that you get the sense. I think he just straight up said that.
You kind of basically there isn't anything going to essentially change of how they go about it.
He's not changing staff outside of if somebody, I assume, takes another job. Obviously, they'll replace somebody, but they're not doing any staff changes, any expansions of any departments. The coaching staff is remaining the same, and it's just going to be, we're going to give it another college try, I guess.
Which is so ironic because this is the pros. Come on, no more college tries. You got to, look what the Ravens did. When obviously we're going to get into that coaching carousel soon, but, a guy that
really shaking things up, moving on from something that wasn't working for them anymore.
Right. And a guy that won a Super Bowl for him, So, the definition of insanity is doing things over and over and expecting different results. So I think we've already approached that. And if you don't see results at this next, right now the Bengals have the 10 overall draft pick. If you miss again on this draft pick, you fail to bolster your defense in a huge way with some of the elite level talent that is in the draft right now from the defensive side. Or if there's no good defensive guys at that point and there's your home run offensive lineman pick, that you need, right? If they go out and they take a running back or something
we're good on skill positions.
Yeah, you just got to make the right decision. That's got to be the
one thing that you can take positively away from this most recent draft class. They got a 6th-round running back.
Right.
So, they did try to target the defense.
Right.
They had an edge rusher in their first round, of course, and then a pair of linebackers in their, 3rd and 4th rounds?
Yeah.
And then a lineman otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll play you Duke Tobin because I know Kayler and I will want to kind of break it down even further about kind of how things have been looking for the Bengals. So we'll let Duke do the talking, and then we will take it from there.
Are we there? Yes. We feel like we're a championship caliber team. We're 6-11. I'm 6-11. How could you feel that way? You're an idiot. Well, that's the way I feel. We have set our team up for Joe in a way that we feel is pretty darn good, and we've made a lot of good picks. I get that people don't believe we've made any good picks. We've made a lot of good picks on our current roster, on past rosters, and there will be more on future rosters. I really believe that. I think the organization is willing to do anything it takes to win.
All right. The organization
willing to do anything.
Whatever it takes to win.
Willing to do anything.
They made their first in-season trade, mind you, since 1970. With when they absolutely had to get Joe Flacco because of no Joe Burrow and a struggling Jake Browning.
When I picture the Bengals, this is not an organization that screams, "We'll do anything."
No. Bare minimum and hope we get by with what we have. And rely on, put all the pressure on our star players that, thank God we have, because they're, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, formerly Trey Hendrickson. Thank God we have those guys. And then, you could say, good job by Duke Tobin drafting those guys, but I'm sorry, Joe Burrow was the number 1 pick. No bleep. Jamar Chase, the 5th overall pick. No bleep, right? You can't allude to those picks as when he's saying, we've made good picks. Amarius Mims.
True.
Right. Amarius Mims 2 drafts ago as their first round pick was a good pick. Miles Murphy, prior to that, was okay so far. Jury's not out yet on him. Shamar Stewart is looking like a complete and utter bust. Now, again, rookies develop. Look what happened to Drake May. Turned into now he's an MVP essentially, right? So it does take time. Like, it's not like, oh my gosh, this guy has to be an all-pro his rookie year, right? People understand. However, you can't use home run, no-brainer picks as your excuse for it is those picking in the mid-teens that define an organization, and it just seems the Bengals have struggled to pick there. Now, maybe it's not their fault of their own. Maybe these guys just haven't panned out. But, when you look at just the plain stats of Shamar Stewart, what was it? 4 sacks his entire college career, and Jamar Chase had more solo tackles than him. Granted, he was hurt a little bit, but I don't know. It seems very, obviously Duke seems like a great guy. Zach Taylor seems like a great guy too, but it's just kind of like you're drawing the line of when do we start, giving these guys so many chances to where we're not seeing the results that we want to see. So this draft will be extremely important. The last time the Bengals, picked this high was Jamar Chase in 2021, 5th overall. So a lot of exciting prospects to like. You really like Ohio State star safety, Jim Thorpe Award winner, Caleb Downs.
You can get a lot of good picks at the 10th round. I know one team that got a 3-time Super Bowl winning quarterback 10th overall a few years ago. Not that that's what they're looking for.
And
but
that's the last time it was 9-10.
My point being that
there's,
you can have impactful players and have impactful change in a unit at 10th overall.
Absolutely. We'll get into the coaching carousel. We could talk Bengals and all that all day long, but as we get closer to draft time and we start seeing some, more mock boards or, more reports, all signs indicate that the Bengals would be trying to target Caleb Downs at safety.
I think the Chiefs are too, though, right ahead of them at 9.
Right. Maybe
I really do.
You trade with the Chiefs, move up the spot if you're concerned. I think he is a organizational changing defensive player. He is like potentially a Joe Burrow type of guy on the defensive side of the ball that will change outcomes of games, culture changer. You need a guy like that on the defense to build around. That's my 2 cents.
Moving on to, the non-coaching changes to the coaching changes.
Crazy stuff.
Of course, the Browns opening is, in fact, open. They interviewed Mike McDaniel on Monday. That's the latest update we have. Obviously, they're going through and interviewing a whole bunch of people. The Ravens as well. The Ravens interviewed Kevin Stefanski last week as well. Mm-hmm. But Kevin Stefanski spent his weekend in Nashville visiting with the Titans all day Saturday. Now, on the flip side of that, you have John Harbaugh, who was a later addition to the carousel. He was a day later than kind of everybody else in the mix, and he quickly rose to the top of the candidate pool that is currently available. And it seems like Harbaugh is going to kind of have his choice at what he's looking for. And the reports this weekend were that he was taking the weekend to evaluate players, actually, on certain teams. He was evaluating Jackson Dart with the Giants, Cam Ward with the Titans, and one of the reports I saw said that he wanted to take last weekend to kind of narrow his search down to 3 or 4 teams before proceeding with interviews. Now, we know there are 8 openings currently, so that cuts it about in half for Harbaugh.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who ends up where. The fact that Stefanski was interviewing with the Ravens. Could we see Harbaugh go to the Browns? He has an interview.
Harbaugh interviewed with the Falcons.
Right. Hasn't interviewed with the Browns yet.
That was the first interview that I've seen of Harbaugh, was he interviewed with the Falcons.
Right. Mike McDaniel just interviewed with the Browns as well. The Lions reached out to him for an offensive coordinator position. So if we see how crazy Harbaugh going to the Browns and Stefanski going to the Ravens, that
wouldn't happen, but it would be crazy.
Yeah, there's no way, but
I don't think Harbaugh would go to the Browns.
I think
is the hang up on that one.
Do you think Stefanski could go to the Ravens, though?
I think he would if they offered him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Would they is obviously the question. So obviously some pretty crazy stuff in the coaching carousel, and we will continue to follow it as it all shapes up.
All openings are still open. We have no closed positions, no hirings yet.
as of this recording.
We could see a couple more. What the Packers, I think, ended up announcing that they were going to stick with their staff.
Stick with LaFleur,
yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with the Steelers or some of these playoff teams. We could see some changes in as well as they start to go out. The Eagles, OC at least. I think the Eagles will probably move on from their OC. So there's another good opening for a guy like McDaniel or Stefanski.
Gosh, what a win for the 49ers that was, knocking out the Super Bowl champs. Crazy stuff in Philly there. They'll have a lot to figure out too. That was some wild stuff on the sideline if you saw any of those videos. Total meltdown. And quickly before we go to break, the college football playoff national championship is now set. Really no surprise here. Number 1 Indiana. Oh my gosh, are they just going to just throttle everybody on their way to this unbelievable, awesome college? It's like they're the underdog because they've never experienced this level of success on a football field before in the entire history of the program, but they're the most dominant team. Yeah,
they're overdogs because they are going to be favored, obviously.
100%.
But they see themselves as underdogs, and rightfully so because they've been doubted all year.
What a story.
So, Miami has the opportunity to do one of the craziest.
The underdog,
has the opportunity to do one of the craziest things because nobody has been able to get anything on this Indiana team in weeks, months.
56-22 over Oregon in that semifinal. I mean, it was just looking like there was time to put in the third strings at the halftime mark. It was unbelievable stuff for Kurt Cignetti and crew. And special shout out to, how about the Hoosiers defensive coordinator, Bryant Hayes, former all GWAC 2A player at Piqua when Piqua was formerly in the GWAC. So congratulations to him even before this national championship, because what a season
and what a unit that he has led.
First play of that semifinal, pick 6. You got to love that if you're a defensive coordinator, right? We're hoping to get a chance to hear from him leading up to championship week. And if we get that interview, of course, we're going to share it with you guys right here on 2 Sports Overtime. So excited for the CFP National Championship. It all comes down to it on January 19th, of course, on ESPN. Miami, Indiana, battling it out. And coming up here after the break, we touch on Dayton men's basketball, Adam Njie. We're going to talk about the team, where they stand, as well as those other 2 college teams in Ohio, and specifically the red-hot Miami Redhawks. More on those guys and Travis Steele's crew coming up here after the break on 2 Sports Overtime.
Welcome back to 2 Sports Overtime. We're switching gears from football back to hoops because, gosh, what a time to be a college basketball fan in the Miami Valley right now. It can't really get much better than what the teams here locally have to offer right now, between Dayton off to a 3-0 start in A10 play, Miami continuing to have a historic start to their season, and now Wright State bouncing back from a tough start to be on a 6-game win streak. So we'll start with the Flyers, though. Like I said, 3-0 in A10 play, a 3-game win streak after beating George Washington last Tuesday, 79-72. And still impressive about this 3-0 stretch in league play is that they are still without their bigs.
Yeah. I'm not sure when we're going to get an update, hopefully soon, on the status.
I asked AG on Tuesday after the game the status. He said they had not practiced yet.
Not good.
That was last Tuesday. Granted, okay, so we have to preface this as well. We are recording this before Tuesday night's game at Duquesne, so unknown whether they will be surprised back on the floor on Tuesday night at Duquesne. But
which would be helpful.
As of the time that we planned this show, there was no update on either of them, and the last update we had from AG was last Tuesday saying that neither of them had practiced yet.
Yeah. I think it'll be important for guys like Jayon Simon to continue to step up in big ways like he did in that game against George Washington. 9 rebounds for a guy that is a bench player is huge. So if everybody can kind of try to pull the weight until you get your big guys back as you really get into the heart.
And Jordan Durkak has really stepped up in their
he turned
absence
on
as well.
Big time.
The last 3 games, Jordan Durkak has been a big factor.
100%. And I think it'll be, we're going to continue to see, guys like Keontae Jones continue to step up too. And not that he hasn't already, but just, with the absence of guys, anytime you're kind of fighting.
He's their next biggest guy. He's 6'7",
Right.
and Malcolm Thomas is 6'8".
Right.
So he's kind of right there in the mix to be filling in for some of that roll down low.
100%. So, big one, another big one coming up for them. Like you mentioned, against Duquesne on Tuesday. And, well, what would already have happened as of this recording? I forgot how this works.
I already prefaced that. They already know.
You.
The viewers already know. So we'll just pretend like that's already in the past and look ahead to Friday. Flyers are back at home in a rematch against Loyola Chicago. They beat them 70-68 on the road on January 3rd. Obviously, that was kind of a disappointing game for the fan base, despite the win, because of how close it was against a 5-9 Loyola Chicago team. But again, none of these A-10 road games are cupcakes. And again, they've been without their bigs, and they were down so big and made that was that huge comeback that they made on the road when they were down like a dozen with under 6 minutes to go or something like that. So hopefully, a little more dominance now, being back on their home floor, and maybe a little more rest because they have had a week off between games, so a little more time to get their feet back under them.
For sure. Absolutely. So we'll see. We'll see how the Flyers can continue to kind of move their way through the A-10 slate. Meanwhile, Dayton women 2-3 in the A-10 after beating Fordham 66-58 on the road on Saturday. Career high 30 points for the fourth-year Flyer Nio Lear. Pretty big performance for her. And then Dayton's going to be back home Wednesday tonight, 7:00 against Richmond.
As this is airing, they will be playing.
Yeah. So another big one coming up for them as, the Flyers, both Flyers teams try to make their push towards those A-10 tournament positions. You want to get a good position, for that tournament. Obviously, winning a regular season title certainly helps with that. So
now let's move on to the hot topic in the nation, because Miami men's basketball is the only 17-0 team in the country, again, as of the time of this recording, without knowing Tuesday's outcome. We have to caveat with that.
Right.
But yeah, the Redhawks rolling 17-0. The record start was 11-0. So they just keep notching it up. And what's crazy is they just came off their winningest season a year ago, winning 25 games. And they're already 2/3 of the way there.
Yeah, it's impressive stuff.
Early January.
It's unbelievable what they've been doing. When Travis Steele has gotten this group to the level at which they're playing, the sheer dominance that they kind of, even when they're down, they don't waver. 17-0 is extremely impressive, and one would think they'd be finally in the top 25 of the AP poll, right?
They have been moving up slightly, though. I think today their positioning was maybe like 29th. They had 49 total votes, and last poll they had 20. So they are starting to get more attention on the national stage.
I get it. We talk about strength of schedule and who they play and stuff, but the MAC, there's a ton of parity in the MAC. They're in the heart of their MAC, schedule now. They had a signature win over Toledo, who was previously unbeaten in the MAC. They beat the defending MAC champions in Akron handily. So it's time to rank the Redhawks.
They have big tests coming up, though. The two best teams underneath them in the MAC standings, Buffalo, and I can't remember what the other one is, but
Kent State.
Those are both on their schedule in the next week and a half.
So they win those, and obviously winning, assuming they would have beat last place Central Michigan, my Chippewas, as of this recording, which is Tuesday,
that was
which Kayler will be at that game, so we'll have some fresh video to show you from Oxford, from Millette Hall.
I totally forgot that's where you went. That's funny.
CMU, they're in a rebuild. But yeah, so assuming they beat the last place Chippewas 18-0, then as Kayler mentioned, it'll be Buffalo and Kent State up next. So exciting for them. Trying to get back to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 1999. Sweet 16.
2007.
I'm sorry. First tournament, thank you. First tournament win was in 1999. Sweet 16 win with
tournament win.
Right, with Wall. Yes, sorry, I'm reading this.
Let's reset.
So far away.
Reset. Okay, so they haven't been to the NCAA tournament since 2007. They haven't won a game in the NCAA tournament since 1999, when they went all the way to the Sweet 16. And what Joey and I were talking about, which fans here would love to see, I'm sure, is, say that they have this amazing regular season, maybe they win lose one or two games rather, or go undefeated and then falter in the MAC championship or the MAC tournament. Could we see this team be playing at UD Arena in the first four?
Yeah.
And how epic would that be?
Gotta be. It would be something, because when Wright State was in their first four game, a few years ago in 2021. That was so cool. And they won. And it was their first ever NCAA tournament win. They beat
In front of their home crowd.
in front of their home crowd, in
It's
front of
awesome.
the other in the other like rival gym that they don't play or talk about. They'll never play each other. Pretty wild. So speaking of Wright State, though, Raiders also on a roll. 6th straight win on Sunday. They beat Oakland convincingly on the road, 94-84. Solomon Callahan, 27 points. It is that longest win streak since 2022.
Well, really, they held on because they, at 2 different points in the game, they were leading by 27. At one point in the first half and at another point early in
Right.
the second half. But Oakland really came on strong late in the second half, got within single digits. But Raiders held on, stayed true, and got the job done.
Yeah, and that was the big year, 2021-22 season. That was their first 4 appearance. Longest win streak that year, 7. So they're 1 away from tying that best since then. They'll see if they can do it on Thursday when they host Youngstown State. They lost by 1 point back in December 3rd, so looking for revenge against the Penguins. So that wraps things up here.
Penguins. Ooh, I didn't know
Youngstown State
that.
Penguins. Yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah. It's like a little penguin with a little scarf and a
That's
hat.
cute.
It's a good mascot. That wraps things up here on 2 Sports Overtime for another edition here. That's Kayler Smith. I'm Joey DeBardino. We'll see you next week here with hopefully some more football talk and all of your favorite hoops coverage right here in the Miami Valley.